Ducks going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Big Ten champions. Big Ten champs.
National champions, yes.
Oklahoma City bound the Oregon Ducks.
Awesome day to be a Duck, man.
Boom inside. Touchdown, Oregon. He gets loose. Fires. Hit. Pops the three. Oh, yeah. It's all Oregon.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider.
It's about how to be a group of people that know how to love each other to the absolute fullest.
Pleasure, a joy to be with them each and every day. And I can't wait for the future.
It's just fun to be a part of a community that cares, that is passionate, and when we come together, powerful things can happen.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck athletics.
Welcome into the Country Financial Studio here on a Monday. Ryan Milano with you, breaking down the weekend in Oregon athletics. It's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union, and it's starting to get to crossover season just a little bit. It's still the winter year where there's that little bit of the lull. But indoor track and field is in full swing. Men's and women's tennis are getting rolling. There's a lot of preview for Oregon baseball still around the corner. And then, oh yeah, both of the teams still on the hardwood with Oregon women's basketball, who got a big victory on Saturday against Penn State, a 30-point victory for Oregon women's basketball. Chris Clayton here in studio. We'll chat a little bit about that, as well as hear from Coach KG, some of the student athletes, as well as some of the other coaches for Oregon women's basketball and the reaction to the big victory over Penn State. Also, Oregon men's basketball, they went up to play Washington. Not the result the men wanted to produce, but we will still break down Oregon men's basketball as they look to continue to turn the tide in Big Ten play as we are in the midst of Big Ten season on both the men's and the women's side. And speaking of Big Ten and the schedule in the Big Ten, we are one day away from getting the Oregon football schedule for the 2026 season. The schedule will be released on the Big Ten Network broadcast tomorrow at 2:30 p.m., where you will find out the dates for all of Oregon's opponents next year. And on Friday of this week, January 30th, it is the ticket renewal deadline for Oregon football season tickets. Friday, January 30th, if you wanted to secure your spot in Autzen Stadium and you are a current season ticket holder, the renewal deadline is January 30th. That's this Friday to see the teams in Autzen Stadium on the schedule that will be announced tomorrow. Oregon will host non-conference games at Autzen Stadium against Boise State on September 5th. That is a big group of 5 non-conference matchup, and now with the new conferences, I don't even know what you classify them as anymore. I just know that Boise State's a pretty good team, and they were in the playoff not this year, but the year prior, and they're always a challenge when they come into Autzen Stadium. Portland State also coming to Autzen on September 19th, and on Tuesday, like I mentioned, we will get to hear the dates announced for the other games that Oregon will be hosting at Autzen Stadium. We know who the teams are. Michigan is coming into Autzen Stadium. Nebraska, Northwestern, UCLA, and Washington at Autzen Stadium. That's 5 Big Ten games, 2 non-conference games, 7 games at Autzen Stadium this season. The dates will be announced tomorrow on the Big Ten Network broadcast at 2:30 p.m. Current season ticket holders can renew their 2025 seat locations at their discounted loyalty price by visiting goducks.com/FBTix. Renewing by that deadline ensures that you will keep your seats and continue to enjoy the priority benefits that is tied to your season ticket loyalty. For fans that do not currently have season tickets but want to access before the public season tickets go on sale in March, you can get a head start by submitting a season ticket deposit today. Deposit holders will be eligible to select seats during the seat selection process in late February ahead of the general public. So if you are a current 2025 season ticket holder, renewal deadline is Friday. If you are not a current season ticket holder but you want a head start over the general public, you can put in your deposit now, and then you can be put into a seat selection process coming up in late February to get to Autzen Stadium this season to see the Ducks in action the next time Oregon hits the field coming up in 2026. And speaking of some great times that we had in Autzen Stadium this year, one of the better crossover promotions, I guess it's a crossover promotion, one of the best uniforms that Oregon has had. No, it's not the one of the apparel that I'm wearing with the Shoe Duck uniform, so those were incredible and epic in their own right. I'm talking about the Grateful Ducks. It was a huge hit having the tie-dye uniforms with the dancing ducks and the dancing bears on the back. You had the celebration to the Grateful Dead. Well, there's more coming in a different sport. Men's and women's basketball will honor the Grateful Dead with the Grateful Ducks uniforms and the Grateful Ducks games coming up for Oregon men's and women's basketball. The men against UCLA on January 28th will have their Grateful Ducks game on January 28th, and then the women against Washington on March 1st. The basketball games will continue to celebrate the legacy of the Grateful Dead within the Eugene Springfield community and the University of Oregon. Fans are encouraged to wear tie-dye for both of these games. January 28th for the men against UCLA. March 1st for the women against Washington. You saw the great drops for the Oregon football team when those came out, and now it will be the turn for the basketball teams to honor the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead, obviously such a long lineage of playing here at the University of Oregon. 20 times all told, the Grateful Dead have played here at the University of Oregon campus, beginning in 1968 in the EMU Ballroom and including 10 shows at Autzen Stadium, but they also played 3 shows at the basketball court. Back when it was Mac Court, MacArthur Court is when the Grateful Dead played 3 different shows: May 31st, 1969, January 22nd, 1978, and August 16th, 1981 were concerts that were played by the Grateful Dead in MacArthur Court. And now the Spirit of the Dead will be in the air at Matthew Knight Arena for one game only for the men and for the women, as they did for the football team against Wisconsin in October. Oregon fans, again, encouraged to wear tie-dye to the Grateful Ducks basketball games January 28th and March 1st. It's going to be a great time. It was great to see a big win in those uniforms the first time around on the football field against Wisconsin. It was good to see a win on Saturday for Oregon women's basketball. A victory over Penn State, 89-59. A 30-point win for the Ducks and an electric third quarter. We're going to talk about that game. We'll break it all down. We'll hear from the coach. We'll hear from some players, and then we'll talk to Chris Clayton. All coming up shortly. We're coming back after this, talking women's basketball on Duck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
We know you turn to the Duck Store for all your game day needs. And for students at the University of Oregon, it's even more. Class supplies, jobs, a seat on our board, a place to take a quick coffee break. Because we're your student-first, non-profit college store, every purchase you make directly supports the very community we serve. From working in our counters to studying in the classroom, from directing our stores to cheering in the stands, the people we serve, the students, are the very people who are the Duck Store.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle. Or forget extra diapers. You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never, ever become a minivan mom. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, No, it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
We just kind of knew from the beginning that we were family.
They showcased a sense of love that I never had before. I mean, he's not only my parent, like he's like my best friend.
At the end of the day, it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about our lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
I left my heart in Oregon. Oh, I left my heart in Oregon. Yeah, I left my heart in Oregon.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Stuck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Monday after a basketball weekend where the Oregon women's basketball team got a big victory over Penn State. It snapped a 4-game losing skid for Oregon and a 30-point drubbing for the Ducks. It didn't look that way to start. Penn State got up 10-2 in the early going, and then Oregon put their pedal down. Pedal to the metal. Bev Smith said it on the broadcast. Pedal to the metal. And that felt like the way that Oregon was operating throughout the entirety of the third quarter and the second half. And really ever since the middle of the first quarter, it felt like Oregon had their pedal down to the metal. So did Sarah Rambis. 20 points for Sarah Rambis in a career-high effort. A big game for her. Katie Fiso was incredible. A double-double in points and assists for Katie Fiso in the game. And Ahisa Tute had 9 points and 11 rebounds in just 14 minutes. Oregon was efficient in this ball game against Penn State, and after the slow start, really was able to ramp it up and finish strong. Kelly Graves post-game talking about the effort of his team against Penn State, getting back in the win column and navigating their way to a 30-point conference win against Penn State.
It was one of our better crowds, I think, and we treated them to a pretty good game. We really needed that one big time, just to kind of stop the bleeding a little bit, regain some confidence. We wish Penn State the best for the rest of the season, and certainly the best on their way home because, from what I understand, it's going to be a pretty ugly trip back. So.
They get the production off the bench, particularly Sarah leading the way, but Nina and Avery as well.
Yeah, no, our bench was great. I thought they came in and gave us a big lift. We got off to that tough start, so we kind of needed their energy, to be honest. But, yeah, when we get that kind of production all across the board, inside, outside, starters, bench, then we're obviously a much better team.
Yeah, the shooting performance the other night, and you started a little late tonight. What's going through your head, and what do you feel like you guys did to kind of get things going back the right direction?
Well, I thought defensively we made some mistakes, right? And then offensively a turnover or two that led to an easy basket. And, it was that rough start. I don't think it was anything they did or we did. We just didn't focus. And instead of letting it go, I decided, we got to put stop to this right now. And I think that helped. But, it was nice to see that, we could recover. And once we got our feet underneath us, I thought, we actually played a pretty good basketball game, all told.
Third quarter, you're up 6 points going to half, and then I think you're up 15 within 3 or 4 minutes. Walk us through kind of what you saw there and maybe what was kind of the...
Well, we talked at halftime how we needed a good start. They kind of cut it. We had the double-digit lead, I think, in that second quarter, and then they cut it to 6. And, that's kind of that tough little area. They hit a 3 to start the half or something, and you never know what happens. So it was important that by the first media timeout, we had separated a little bit. That's what we talked about at halftime. And I think it helped that Ahise was back in the game, and she made a couple of nice plays. And then, we start to see the ball go through from range. And, it's just one of those things that just kind of snowballs a little bit in a positive way, and we've seen it snowball the other way. So it was nice tonight to see it.
Your thoughts on Katie's response from the other night where you said maybe she wasn't looking to move it quite as much, 10 assists, and it came pretty easy.
I thought she was fantastic tonight. She had a couple turnovers, but honestly, I thought this was one of her better games. You could see early in the game she was consciously trying to get others involved. And so I think it's a good lesson to her. She's going to have opportunities of her own. Those will come naturally. And it was nice to see her try to get others involved, and it made a difference. She's trying, everything she does is out of out of goodness. She wants to do what we need. And, sometimes she just tries to put a little bit too much on herself. But it was nice to see that distribution again.
Psychologically, I'm wondering, losing 4 in a row, now you get a win, tough road trip coming up, kind of, where does that put you guys?
Well, puts us 3-6, and that's better than 2-7. We're obviously a pretty good basketball team. We just, you kind of have those slumps sometimes, and we just haven't been able to finish games. But yeah, I think psychologically this will really help. No question. And yeah, like you said, to go 3 time zones is not easy, but that's a hand we're dealt. We got to go back and deal with it. And I think we'll be fine. I think they feel good tonight. Everybody played. I think most players scored, or at least they had an opportunity to score. And I think it's one of those games where everybody goes home feeling good about themselves. And that's what we needed. We just needed that.
The Ducks played well, no doubt, on Saturday. Oregon shot 57% from the field and 43% from 3. They also shot 85% from the line. Those percentages on the other side for Penn State, 39 from the field, 24 from 3, and 50% from the line, which did mean that everybody in Matthew Nutt Arena went home with some French fries, which was awesome. But also Oregon just shot more efficiently than Penn State. And when you do that and you also out-rebound your opponent by 6 on the glass like Oregon did, it's pretty good. You outscore them by 20 in the paint, probably means you're going to win. You outscore them with 12 more bench points, means you're pretty efficient. Oregon did a good job spreading it around, spreading the love, and a big reason for those bench points were Sarah Rambis, who had 20 points in the ball game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. She shot 9 of 13 from the field. Katie Fiso, 15 points on 7 of 11 shooting. She also had 10 assists. You heard Kelly Graves talk about how she decided to be a facilitator and distributor early. And Ahisa Tute, 9 points, 4 of 6 from the field, and 11 rebounds in just 14 minutes. Efficient, and efficient. Those 3 women were on the podium post-game talking to the media about Oregon women's basketball and their 30-point win backed by a huge third quarter against Penn State on Saturday. Let's hear from the 3 standout stars of the game.
For any of you, what's the vibe after ending the losing streak and putting on a pretty good game?
The vibes are good around here. We always try to keep the vibes up, but they're pretty good. We got that big win. We're ready to get some more.
I'm saying, just to add on to what you said, obviously we're happy we finally got out this little streak, but, we got to look forward to the next game, stay high on the vibes. But, yeah, it's pretty chill.
Oh, I need to say something, too. Okay.
Now you good, bro.
I just want to ask for you. I think Kelly said after the last game it was key to kind of get you moving the ball around, 10 assists today. How did you was that kind of a focus coming in, and how did you think you performed in that regard?
Yeah, it definitely was a focus for me. Just making better reads on the floor. I feel like that's been a little struggle for me these past couple of games. But I did a lot of film work, a lot of talk with my coaches, and they instilled that confidence in me that I can also be a very good passer. And I have great teammates beside me who make those shots. So I was pretty happy to see those shots going.
How much of your playmaking today, Katie, kind of came from being a magnetic offensive player? Like, they're always worrying about you scoring and that the defense is going to collapse.
Yeah, I feel like that's where I have an advantage against other teams. Obviously I can score, get downhill, but once I get stopped, I also have great teammates who can get those passes for me. I can make those reads, and they can hit those shots. So happy to see my teammates make all those buckets today. So, yeah.
Sarah was going to ask you, just so the bench had a great day, but career high for you, kind of what was working, and how do you kind of stay ready coming off the bench like that?
How I stay ready is just it's big mental for me. Make sure my head's in the game, and I felt good. It was a good crowd today, and my mom was in the crowd.
Shout out to Miss Shelly Jean.
Yeah, I felt good, and my teammates was hitting me in the right spots. Try to always knock them down for them.
Okay.
You guys were down 7-0 the first 2 minutes of the game. Can you guys just tell us, what Raven told you guys during the first timeout, and how you guys were able to manage the storm in the first quarter that led to the?
Obviously it wasn't our best start, obviously, but we knew we had to come in with this game with a focus, intensity, high intensity. These past couple of games we've started games out slow, and weren't really able to like kind of bounce back. But we came together as a team. We were like, come on, like lock in. And from there, we kind of flowed. Shots were falling. We were making some good passes, and then we came together and got stops on defense. And I feel like that's what got us going.
How hard is it? I think you only played 3 minutes in the first half with foul trouble. How hard is it to kind of like, you're not in the rhythm of the game and then come in the second half? That's not being critical.
No, it's okay. Like,
What's the challenge there, and how did you overcome that for a strong second half?
well, obviously, when I got my first foul, when I got back on the bench, Kelly wasn't happy. So and I had to sit down and I had to like calm down and really tell myself that when I go back out there, I can't be doing that again. So obviously my teammates, they all told me I shouldn't be doing that.
Yep.
So yeah, my teammates definitely keep me locked in too. So that's a big reason why. Okay.
You can just tell how much this teammate actually likes being around each other. You can see it. And Chris Clayton will join us in a moment. We'll talk to him about it. But you could hear it during that entire interview. The word vibes was said a few times, but you could just tell the energy's high. You're talking about Sarah Rambis and her mom in the crowd, joking a little bit with Ahisa Tute, with Katie Fiso. That is the type of positive energy that is kind of infectious with this team, and you can see it. You can see it throughout how they play. You can see it when they interact with the media, and it's really fun to have a team like that wants to be around and wants to play with each other. There's a reason why 9 players from last year's team came back to play with this year's squad. A 30-point victory for Oregon women's basketball, 89-59 against Penn State. And on the radio post-game on the Oregon Sports Network, Chris Clayton, he sat down with Audie Gilden talking post-game about the victory for Oregon women's basketball and how they were able to get a big win over Penn State. Here's the conversation with Chris Clayton.
Ducks win, take down Penn State. Oregon up to 15-7, 3-6 now in Big Ten play. And now we're joined by Ducks assistant coach Audie Gilden. Audie, you go on into this game on a little losing streak.
Yeah.
Could you feel the urgency and the intensity of the team trying to get back on track?
Yes, you could. You could feel it in practice too. They came with a lot of energy. They were locked in all week, and so it was good to see them come out and produce. We started off a little bit slow with that 0-7 start, had us rethinking our game plan for a second, but then they woke up and was able to fight back and do what we do.
What was the message in the locker room? I mean, just a massive third quarter. It was a 6-point game at the half, but 34-11 third quarter.
We told them the first 5 minutes. We told them, let's put this game away, let's go out, do what we have to do, and have fun doing it at halftime.
Yeah, Chris and I talked about, Kelly was speaking in the pregame about, we got to learn how to finish it. And so we're trying to explain to our listeners what that means.
Yeah.
And it means you don't have to wait till the fourth quarter to finish it, right?
Yep.
You can get it done if you get that separation, and you got to put that pedal to the metal. And I thought your team did that as well as they have all year today.
Yeah, I thought we did a really good job in our fast break. We told them to keep looking up the court and pushing the ball. We scored 18 points on our fast break, scored 20 over turnovers. We turned them over 15 times. So we're trying to push the ball as much as we can, get up the floor, make our post run.
50 points in the paint. Sarah Rambis was dialed in today. She really has so improved over the last couple of years, just, staying low, being aggressive, commanding the ball. What do you attribute that to? Just her hard work and desire?
Yeah, hard work, but we've been pushing them a lot in practice. We're playing live in position breakdown just to get them ready for the physicality. We didn't know Grace Merkel was going to be out today, so we just told them to be physical, be strong down there, and that's what they did today.
Yeah, they played to the standards regardless of whether Merkel was there or not, and that's what they need to do. So just a really good win to take on the road with you guys.
I agree.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the response of Katie Fiso. She gets a double-double. She was out for some crucial possessions against Minnesota, but it feels like she bounced back pretty well and reacted really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. She stayed poised today. She played off a 2. She didn't force anything. She was able to read the floor really well, got some assists. I think she did really good today.
Well, safe travels. Good luck on the trip to the East Coast, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That's the post-game reaction from assistant coach Audie Gilden talking about Oregon women's basketball. A 30-point win, a 34-point third quarter. Chris Clayton, Bev Smith had her on the hot seat post-game. Now it's my turn to put Chris Clayton on the hot seat. The voice of women's basketball coming up when we return after this. It's Stuck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear Winter, Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/25.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Winter, Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/25.
This is Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
When I smoke weed, I get lost in the music. I like to isolate each instrument. The rhythmic bass, the harmonies on the piano, the sticky melody.
Hey, careful, babe. There's someone crossing the street.
Sorry, I didn't see him there.
If you feel different, you drive different. Don't drive high. It's dangerous and illegal everywhere. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember. Back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide your arms for this wayward son? I left my heart in Oregon.
Back here in the Country Financial Studio, Ryan Milano and Chris Clayton here with you on Duck Insider.
I'm here.
Brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Chris, welcome into the program, and good job, by the way, on Saturday,
thanks.
getting a big win.
It's easy when they play like that.
Well,
you
your
know?
athleticism
Just
was on
highlight.
full display behind at the
That's right.
scorer's table.
That's right. Just periodically leaning around and looking around coaches and refs to make sure I can see the action. You know, the hips get a lot of work in. That's about it.
The ab workout is legitimate. But
yes.
I do actually, on a serious note, want to talk about this game because this felt like a game for Oregon women's basketball that was necessary. They had lost 4 straight going into this one against some really good teams. You felt like probably could have won 3, maybe all 4 of those matchups beforehand. Now you get a Penn State team in that hasn't been as good in conference play, and Oregon, while it looked a little dicey to start, took care of business, and especially that third quarter. This felt like a tune-up game in the best way for Oregon.
Right, and sometimes when you talk to a team on a little slide, going into a game they're confident they're going to win, you know, they'll say, we're just treating like another game. We're trying to stay focused. We're sticking with it. But whether it was a coach or a player, ask multiple assistant coaches a similar question: was there an extra urgency about this game? And they said yes. You know, there's a level of taking it one game at a time, which is a cliche, but then you also have to understand when you need a win. And Coach Graves' words in our pregame interview was, heading into Penn State, we need a win. And you could feel it from the team. Yes, it was a slow start. It was 10-2 early, but it wasn't for lack of effort. There was some mental mistakes early. Penn State came to play, give them credit. It was a 6-point game at halftime. The Nittany Lions were hanging around, and then that third quarter was impressive. It's important to note Penn State had some injury issues. Their leading scorer, Gracie Merkel, on the inside, 6'6", would have made an impact. But Penn State was winless in conference play. So, you know, as much as she brings offensively, she probably would have had issues guarding the Ducks. So I'm not just going to say Oregon won by 30 because of that one player not playing. But this is a game Oregon should win, based on the talent and the records of these two teams, and the Ducks took care of business. And they gave the fans a show. You know, I think it felt great for the team, too. They had lost back-to-back home games. I mean, they were really close, and they were heartbreaking, but I think it just felt great to give that crowd. There was a really good crowd. People were not only there, but they were loud. So the Duck fans that are watching or listening to this, the team could feel you and you helped, and they appreciate that you came back to support once again, and the Ducks were absolutely dominant. And I think, that third quarter you mentioned, 34-11, everything came together. I mean, they're hitting shots in transition. They're getting stops and running the other way. And that's when this team's at their best. The reality is, with how Oregon's roster makeup this year is, they don't have a huge dominant center. They've played some teams with really big traditional posts. Take Lauren Betts or a couple of Iowa's posts that are excellent. Minnesota had some really good centers. Oregon is going to compete in that category, but they might get beat in points in the paint in those games. But that's okay, because when the Ducks are at their best, it's when they're getting stops and they're running and they're spacing the floor. And how do you run the floor and get fast break points? You got to string together stops or get steals. And that's what was crucial. I think they strung together stops against Penn State, and then it just becomes fun. And then it becomes a track meet. You're running up and down. You've got Avery Kane spotting up in the corner hitting threes. You've got Sarah Rambis slashing to the rim and scoring. So I think it all came together, and I think, to your question, the urgency was there. They needed to break the 4-game losing streak, and I think that passion showed. And I think it's nice to just kind of take a breath and go, okay, that's what it feels like to win. It's a confidence boost for this team, because they're just a few possessions from, instead of 3-6, which they are right now in conference play, they're just a few possessions from even 7-2. Or 6-3, to be fair. That's just the reality. And you say shoulda, woulda, coulda. This team doesn't make excuses, but they've had some balls not bounce their way like they did last year, honestly, in some of those close wins. And it feels like they're hopefully due for some close wins, right?
Yeah, and I want to touch on a few things that you just said. And talking about the 4-game losing streak headed in, well, Michigan State's ranked number 13 in the country. They're number 9 in the net. Iowa, on the road, ranked number 8 in the country. They're 10th in the net. Wisconsin, that's probably the game you look at and say, should have had that one. But double overtime on the road at Wisconsin, who's the 75th team in the net. And then Minnesota, who's number 13 in the net. 3 of those 4 teams are top 15 in the net. You look at a loss earlier in the season in double overtime against Michigan, who's a top 6 team in the net. Yep. This is the best conference, I think, without a doubt, in women's college basketball. And yet Oregon is continuing to compete. And, Kelly Graves said it during his presser. We're 3-6. And yes, Oregon is 3-6. But you look at the teams that Oregon has had to play early in this Big Ten slate, and the competition level with a team that's nucleus is still pretty young. These games, they bode well in terms of the experience you get playing that competitive against these good of teams night in and night out. And that 0-4 stretch, there's a little more context to it than just, Oregon's not playing good basketball. Oregon's playing good basketball. They just happen to play 4 good teams.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, it's going to show in March. I think the teams that are going to go into the NCAA tournament are going to be absolutely battle tested. We saw it last year. A lot of them had success. The Ducks were able to, without Elisa Mevius, make the second round of the NCAA tournament, because you are absolutely going to war game in and game out. I mean, there's just no let-up. I mean, even Wisconsin, who's 75 in the net, they've put up some really big wins so far in conference play. That's not an easy team to beat. It's a game the Ducks felt like they should have won, but maybe in hindsight, not as bad of a loss as maybe it feels like. And it's insane. As of a few days ago, the top 34 teams in the net, 12 of them in the Big Ten. So you're talking about a conference that you could be sitting in 10th place in the Big Ten, and that doesn't feel good because you're in the bottom half. But you also could still be top 25 in the nation or top 30, and I think that's where Oregon's at. Is they're trying to pile together these wins, but when you take a step back and think about how difficult this conference is, if you just win a game, a lot of times it's a quad 1 win. A quad 1 win, I throw around that term a lot on these shows and on our broadcasts. Those are a big thing that the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee looks at. Right now, a Big Ten regular season title, it's not going to happen for Oregon. But that wasn't ever really the goal. I mean, with UCLA out there, the number 2 in the country, a Big Ten tournament championship, maybe they can make a run. But the reality is the Ducks' goal and focus is to put together a good resume. And they've done that so far. They have a quad 1 win, and they have ample opportunities ahead. And that includes at Maryland coming up next week. They'll play Rutgers, who struggled a bit this year in conference play, but then they play at Maryland. There's a quad 1 opportunity. They play Illinois still coming up, Ohio State. So the Ducks, as it stands today, if we talk about the net rankings, great spot. They're 25th.
Oregon is 25th in the
That's
net
right.
as it stands right now. And you're right, with a quad 1 win and with a top 35 RPI, all of the metrics say this is a tournament team.
Yes. Now, it's important, and I think Kelly Graves or somebody might bring this up on the other side of things. 2 years ago, they were 19 in the net, didn't make the tournament. But
and that was
just saying.
I'm still not over that. That was the biggest anomaly in the selection the committee's ever made,
yes,
by the way. And
historic.
A team that high in the net has never missed the tournament, and I've still got gripes about that. But I think that in a vacuum, a team that is top 25 in the net, they are in the NCAA tournament.
Yes, and beyond the metrics, you can just see with the youth of this team, they're getting better every game. They're learning. Some of those issues of maybe not doing enough in the paint or not being physical enough or not being consistent enough, they're growing on those game to game. I mean, I think it was really interesting last week with the game against Minnesota down the stretch. There's no doubt objectively Katie Fiso has been stellar this year, a rising star guard in college basketball as a whole. She has 7 points, assists, double-doubles this year, which leads the country. But there were crucial possessions there against Minnesota. Coach Graves took her out. He felt like the team for that game was in a better spot with her on the bench. He wanted to see her penetrate and look to kick out a little bit more. And it's not to say she was being selfish. She wanted to win, but she wasn't doing it in quite the way he felt like was best for the team. So he had her out of the game, and what does she do? She responds with maturity. She responds like a true competitor, and she has 15 points and 10 assists against Penn State. She didn't take it personally. She took it well. She understands where the coaching staff came from, and the Ducks need her. Just because she wasn't in late against Minnesota doesn't define where she is. But I'm just using that as an example of the youth of this team. They're still learning. Hisa Tute is a crucial piece on this team. She's only a sophomore as well. You have Mia Jacobs, who's a senior, but she's in her first year with the program. So you see the metrics are there for this team, and the incremental growth with the eye test, so to speak, is there game to game. If you look at the adjusted stats or the adjusted metrics of how Oregon's played against their schedule, it's been really good. But sports are about wins and losses. And unfortunately, it's been agonizing. Just some of these close games is coming up a possession short here or there. The Ducks are right there. And I think that's going to be the key. They're going to have more close games. They got to close these out, be consistent.
Well, you touch on something I want to talk to you about, and that is kind of the continuity of this team. Oregon brings back 9 players from last year's roster, and the ability for Kelly Graves, where Katie Fiso has been your go-to ball handler, probably your best player all year long, but you have the ability in a chess match type of scenario to say, well, I've got Esther Tahina, who is an experienced ball handler sitting over here on the bench that can facilitate, and she can be an option for me to bring in. When you're a team like Oregon that has 9 guards on your roster, and you have Sophia Bell and Ari Long and Avery Kane and so many different options you can rotate into the wing, and you have Esther Tahina and Katie Fiso that you can flip-flop at the point guard, and you've got so many different players like Aminu Muhammad and Ahisa Tute and Sarah Rambis in the front court that you can play so many different matchup games. And you mentioned, well, sure, there's no Filipina Che on this team. There's no true, huge, physically imposing center. But there is so many different options for Kelly Graves to play the matchup games, and options that are continuing to change because all of those players I just mentioned are continuing to grow because most of them are still underclassmen. We're seeing this team continue to grow before our eyes, and we're seeing the options from Kelly Graves continue to expand on a game-to-game basis because you can see each individual player getting better and better and better through each game they play.
Yeah, and that's just what it takes. It takes games. It takes time together. So some more context to what you're talking about with 9 players returning. Elisa Mevius was one of those 9. Unfortunately, she went down with a torn ACL. So then you're down to 8. And let's think about the starting 5 the Ducks have been using now for the last few weeks. Katie Fiso, first-year starter. Ari Long, first-year starter. You've got Sophia Bell, who's a returning starter. But then you have Mia Jacobs, who's a very experienced player, but new to the power conference level and new to being a Duck. And then you have Ahisa Tute, who's a first-year starter after not kind of similar to Fiso. She kind of just came in spots last year. So as much as you have returning, most of the starting 5, and I'm doing the math now, 3 out of the 5 are first-year starters. And when you're a starter, the opponent is game planning for you. They're ready. So as much as the opponent focuses on your strengths, they also focus on your weakness. And when you become a starter, when you're averaging 30 minutes a game rather than just coming in and complimenting with 10 minutes a game, it comes with new challenges, and it really makes these players self-reflect and focus on their own weaknesses while also trying to grow with their teammates and build that chemistry. So it's one thing to have talent, which individually we know that these Ducks have top to bottom, multiple forwards, multiple guards, are starter caliber players, but it's just about that incremental growth on an individual and team basis that, unfortunately, in Big Ten play, you don't have a lot of opportunities to learn a lesson and grow while getting a win. If you make just a few mistakes, you find yourself with a few losses, and that's just the reality of the Big Ten this year. And I think there's got to be optimism looking forward when you look at the opportunities Oregon has had so far, and if you just flip the coin and Oregon gets a few whistles or a few bounces going their way, this Oregon team could be in the top 25.
Yeah, absolutely. And the metrics would say as much. And you touch on Katie Fiso and Ahisa Tute. It feels like stars are blossoming right in front of our eyes because we saw flashes of what they could bring to the table last year. But now this year, Katie Fiso, she moves different on the court. And Ahisa Tute is so strong. And you can see her physicality on the court. And you can see them gain more confidence on a game-to-game basis and continue to grow. And you see it when the players are talking to each other in the media post-game that we aired last segment, where Katie Fiso is giving some playful punches over to Ahisa Tute, saying, "We got you." When she's talking about Sarah Rambis' mom and saying, "Yeah, we love the Rambis family. It's awesome." You can see her continuing to grow as a leader. It feels like we're watching the future of and it's obviously a different era in collegiate athletics and college basketball, but with 9 players returning from last year, it feels like this is almost like an old school type of team, and we're in kind of that second iteration of, well, we saw them a little bit last year, and now we're starting to see them flourish, and you can almost start to see the future of Oregon women's basketball kind of developing in front of our eyes.
And I hope that Duck fans share that excitement and passion and optimism that you have, because I certainly have it too. It's easy to focus on for these players and these coaches the day-to-day of what they need to do next, who they need to scout next, what they need to improve on. But as somebody that's, I broadcast the games, but I'm also a fan of the team, a spectator, and I think take a step back and realize, whoa, like we're critiquing these players and we're thinking about how they came up short. They're only sophomores. I mean, the amount of accomplishments and achievements ahead that this core is going to be able to do is special. And I think a player like Katie Fiso that's so fun to watch, like Ahisa Tute that's so fun to watch. I mean, Bev Smith talks about it on our broadcast all the time. Ahisa Tute is good for it once per game, a defensive rebound and a coast-to-coast run the other way. And it's almost like it catches every team off guard. You can just see her grab the board. She turns around. She sees nothing but hardwood in front of her, and at this point, I can say, she's going, here we go. And the opponent's almost like, wait, is she going to pass to a guard? No, she's going.
She is the guard.
Yes.
And I don't want to put these type of expectations on anybody because they obviously, it's not a comparison I'm making. But there are some slight similarities in the way that Katie Fiso is able to distribute and have the double-doubles and have been so close to the triple-doubles, and the way that she moves that is reminiscent of a way that Sabrina Ionescu used to do things, and the way that Ahisa Tute can get a rebound and then take the ball up the floor and run her own personal fast break is it reminds me a little bit of the way Satu Sabali used to do things, and not a comparison at all, because those are two of the best players in the entire world right now. But just there's some slight flashes where it's like, well, they can be a tandem that can accent each other and complement the way that each other play the game, the same way that we saw two legends do it here at Oregon. And there's a long way to grow, and there's a lot of growth, and I certainly don't want there to be I don't want someone to say, oh, well, Ryan Milano was making the comparison.
No, I'm with you. But it's okay. You don't have to defend it because I know what you mean. Yes, and you can feel it. There's certain plays that, whether it's a behind-the-back pass by Fiso or a quick in-and-out move hesitation, the defender falls over. There's certain plays during a game when the crowd's just like, whoa. You could just feel the energy and the awe from the crowd that you don't always get. There's having a good player, and there's having special players that really bring awe to the crowd and bring a level of buzz that is so exciting that Oregon has them back for multiple years now. And this is where this program can really grow and people keep coming back to games, because I think from what I've seen, and hopefully the people watching and listening to this agree with me, when people come to a Ducks women's basketball game this year, even if the game maybe they came down to the wire and they lost. They walk away saying, that was fun. I want to come back to a game. That team is exciting. Like, they play hard. There's a lot of exciting plays where there's a Tute running the length of the court. It's Fiso running up and down. This team is fun to watch. You can see the glimpses of greatness, and it's starting to come together more consistently, to your point of tapping into some of the great teams of old at Oregon.
Chris Clayton, C-squared as the team calls him,
I guess
the
so.
Conduit, as we are starting to start
like
here
it.
at the Oregon Sports Network, talking Oregon women's basketball, going on the road Wednesday, 4 o'clock against Rutgers, and then Saturday against Maryland at 2 p.m., the road trip coming up for Chris Clayton. What should fans know before you hit the road?
Well, hopefully the weather is not too bad. Hopefully the ice storm doesn't affect the travels. By everything I hear, I think it should be okay in terms of flying directly out there for the team. But I think there's going to be a level of pride and intensity for Kelly Graves and the Ducks because they went 0-2 last road trip. They lost to Wisconsin and the game before that. So an 0-2 road trip is something that leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So start off on the right foot with Rutgers, and then Maryland. It's a top 20 team. They're ranked 16th. Just got to swing away. This team's proven they can compete with these top-tier teams. This will be the biggest win yet.
The Conduit. Telling the people. He's the conduit between the program and the people. And he's doing a great job of it. Chris Clayton joining us talking Oregon women's basketball. Thanks for sticking around. Now we're switching sides from the women to the men. Coming up when we return. Duck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
When life blindsides you with an injury, you need a team that's tough. For over 30 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people. This season, we're proud to partner with Oregon Athletics. Because whether it's on the field or in the courtroom, we're both determined to do what it takes to win. Morgan & Morgan, proud partner of Oregon Athletics. Injured? Dial pound law. Morgan & Morgan, 10150 Southwest 6th Avenue, Portland. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
I left my heart in Oregon. Oh, I left my heart in Oregon. Yeah, I left my heart in Oregon.
We're back in the Country Financial Studio on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Monday talking hoops. We just talked about the women and their 30-point win over Penn State with Chris Clayton, who's about to hit the road for a Rutgers, Maryland road swing for Oregon women's basketball. The Oregon men's basketball team, they went on the road yesterday, played against Washington, did not go the Ducks' way. A 72-57 final against the Huskies in a game that ultimately for Oregon got out of hand pretty quickly. Washington got out to a big lead early. Oregon was able to keep pace throughout the second half, but Washington's lead ultimately insurmountable. That's what's going to happen when you get out-rebounded 45-23. Oregon, without Jackson Shellstad again, without Nate Middle, and without Ege Demir. There were no bigs really available at all for Oregon, or at least traditional centers for Oregon in this game, and it showed. Because on the offensive glass, Washington out-rebounded the Ducks 18-1. Oregon just didn't produce on the boards the way they needed to be competitive. 36% from the Ducks from the field, 20% from three. You're not going to win very many games that way, and it was a disappointed Dana Altman with the effort. He talked with Joey Mack on the postgame radio on the Oregon Sports Network, breaking down what ultimately was a disappointing loss on the road against Washington for Oregon.
Coach, I know you never want to have a loss, and especially up here in Seattle. What did you take away from this one here tonight?
Well, we got our ass kicked on the boards. You know, it just, I don't know, been doing this a long time. I don't know if we've ever been a minus 22 on the boards. And, you know, we just couldn't get a rebound. Their two big guys had more rebounds than our team. So we knew it would be a problem coming in. We didn't anticipate it being that big of a problem, but second chance points, 10-0. We didn't get any offensive rebounds. They did, and that probably was as big a factor as anything. You know, we didn't shoot the ball well, and they went 10 for 21 from three. But a lot of those were just defensive mistakes where we didn't contest shots. So very disappointed. You know, I thought we would compete at a higher level. When some shots didn't go in, I thought our guys gave into it, had some bad turnovers. TK, you know, just had a tough game, and, you know, with the guys out, we needed him to play well, and he didn't.
You mentioned TK injuries, Coach. I mean,
yeah, he's in there. I think he's going to be okay, but they were working on him when I walked out.
Talking about the offensive rhythm, it just seemed like you never got into that rhythm. You know, the rebounding contributed, but it'd be nice to see one go in every now and then.
Yeah, no. You know, we 3 for 15 from three, you know, 1 for 9 at half, you know, and our ball movement wasn't good, and our penetration kicks weren't there. And when we did penetrate, we're getting fouled. We just didn't fight it.
UCLA coming up next.
Be a tough one. We got 2 days to get ready. We're just going to have to turn it around.
All right, Coach. Thanks for the
time.
All right.
That's Dana Altman, a disappointed Dana Altman. Oregon didn't play up to the standard against Washington, and quite frankly, Oregon is in a losing skid. The Ducks have lost 6 in a row and now face off against the UCLA team that looks like they're finding their rhythm now in Big Ten play. Just got a big win over Purdue a few days ago. It's a team that Oregon is going to need to play up to the challenge for coming up on Wednesday, 8 o'clock. It'll be televised on the Big Ten Network, 7:30 pregame on the Oregon Sports Network. It's also going to be the Grateful Ducks game for Oregon men's basketball at Matthew Knight Arena coming up on Wednesday against UCLA. An opportunity for Oregon to turn the tide. Just need one to start a streak. Right now, Oregon's had a few losses in a row. Just need to get back in the win column. And it's difficult when Jackson Shellstad and Nate Biddle are out. You're dealing with a few other injuries. Takai Simpkins got a little bit dinged up at the end of the game. You heard Coach Altman talking about that, hoping he is okay and available to play against UCLA. But you got to ultimately play hard. You got to play with effort. You got to be on the boards and out-rebound your opponent. And you can find ways to win. UCLA, the next opponent, coming into Matthew Knight Arena as Oregon is going to try to find a way to win. Wednesday, 8 o'clock, Big Ten Network at Matthew Knight Arena. Be there. Taking a timeout, getting to some of the other sports that are in action. Track and field, baseball getting some notoriety, tennis in full swing, full serve. Coming up, Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone or just taking a deep, calming breath to ground yourself. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. The Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council have resources available for you at loveyourmindtoday.org.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We are back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Stuck Inside, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Monday, breaking down all of the sports that were in action over the weekend. We talked about hoops, but it's almost spring season. That means baseball's right around the corner. So is softball. They're going to be get going before we know it. And Oregon baseball in the top 25 on the Just Baseball poll, sitting at number 24. This joins Oregon's ranking as number 13 from the Perfect Game. So Oregon in a few different polls as a top 25 team this season. Also, Oregon track and field in action on the indoor track, and a few events and races of note, as Shalana Yildiz set a school record at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix in Boston. Her 3K school record, a new time of 8 minutes, 42 seconds, 0.29. It's a school record. It is a national Turkish record for Shalana Yildiz, and it is number 8 in NCAA history and the current NCAA leading time for Shalana Yildiz. Also, at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, the elite Dr. Sanders Scorcher Mile. If you know track, you know this is a big-time mile early in the season. Wilma Nielsen won the elite section of that mile, the NCAA lead with a winning time of 4:26.74 for Wilma Nielsen. Also, former Duck Claudia Kazimierska set her own national record, a Polish record, in the 1,500 meters. Congratulations to her. Men's and women's tennis both swept their weekends of competition early in their seasons, and everybody is getting geared up for softball starting just around the corner. Go Ducks, everybody. Joey's back tomorrow.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
If you build a relationship, then it becomes...
Yeah, glad to help.
Trust becomes easier. As a parent, you want what's best for your child. To give them the love that a child needs is probably the best you can do for a teenager.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more.